Ukraine's top military commander says the situation for his forces in the southeastern Zaporizhia region has significantly worsened. Ukrainian troops have reportedly pulled back from positions near 5 settlements after heavy fighting with Russian forces. Those setbacks come as Russia pushes deeper into Pokrovsk in the neighbouring Donetsk region. Fierce battles have been fought there for months, but Moscow says its assault units are now advancing. Ukraine's military says around 300 Russian soldiers have pushed into the city through thick fog. A social media post appears to show Russian troops on the move, though the footage can't be independently verified. The road layout and weather conditions do match those in Pokrovsk. Rebecca Ritters joins us from Kyiv. Reports of heavy fighting in the regions of Zaporizhia and Donetsk. What are you hearing?
That's right. Starting in Zaporizhia, Ben, that situation along that southern or southeastern front line is increasingly difficult. We've been hearing that the Russians are incrementally pushing forward and increasing their assaults, and that is forcing the Ukrainians, who are seeing such a huge uptick in firepower. They say that they've had to retreat in several areas just to try to save personnel, save lives, and regroup and reassess. So that's currently what we're hearing is happening down there. You mentioned those 5 villages. That is something that we're also hearing confirmed here, that Russians are pushing forward in those areas. But of course, this is a war of attrition, and those numbers, those villages often go back and forth. So we'll have to see what happens on that southern front line in the days and weeks ahead. Now we turn to Pokrovsk. That city has been really at the center of the fighting, certainly in the Donetsk region, that's heavily discussed and talked about, fought over city for more than a year now. And we are seeing incremental advances from Russia. You mentioned 300 Russians being reported to have been in the center of the city. We're hearing also from military sources that we were speaking to this morning that number is more around 500 or more. But of course, that's still small numbers. They're still incrementally pushing forward, making use of the weather at the moment. Low fog means that they can push forward, as you see in that video that's been circulating online. They're able to push forward without the fear of too much drone defences flying overhead. So that is certainly playing in the Russian favour, a situation that's better for defence, for attack than defence rather. So we have been talking about this city falling for more than a year now, so we'll just have to see. It's still looking some days, if not weeks, off. But yeah, as I say, it's really a very hot situation at the moment.
You mentioned the time factor, that this has taken so long and these are only incremental advances. But what else is behind the Russian advances?
Well, I think, securing Pokrovsk is sorely needed for the Russians. They really need a win. They need to be able to take something home and a message at home, say, this last year of fighting and huge amounts of losses has been really worth it. Of course, that's one aspect, but of course, they have been trying to take the whole Donbass region, Donetsk, and Pokrovsk is a part of that strategy. Once they, or if and when, I suppose we should say, they take Pokrovsk, it's thought that they will use that region or those cities, Pokrovsk and the neighbouring Myrnarad city, to launch attacks on the 2 remaining Ukrainian really stronghold cities of Kramatorsk and Slavyansk. Then being able to take that entire Donbass region, that is part of Russia's maximalist demands, and it's thought perhaps maybe once that has happened, they will be willing to perhaps go back to Washington, go back to the negotiating table and say, we have that entire region that we want. Now we're willing to talk. We just we'll have to wait and see. But as I say, they've been fighting over Pokrovsk for more than a year now, so it's very, very far off that they'll be taking this entire Donbass region if they succeed that at all.
Our Kyiv correspondent Rebecca Ritters. The war in Ukraine has left many jobs unfilled as hundreds of thousands of men are fighting with the armed forces. To close the gaps, women are stepping up to take over key roles in areas including the emergency services.
Fighting fires in their community. This group are among the first volunteers to get out and battle a blaze. They're members of Ukraine's first female volunteer fire brigade.
We are not afraid of fire. Let it be afraid of us.
For over a year now, the volunteers have been working alongside the state emergency services in Ukraine's western Rivne region. The volunteers regularly undergo training with professional firefighters.
Створення, функціонування всіх цих команд.
The creation of these teams is a very important and integral part of ensuring fire safety in the community.
Першими прибувають на місце події.
They are the first to be at the scene.
Дуже масштабна, вони можуть своїми силами локалізувати.
If the event is very large, they can localize the fire on their own and wait for the main fire and rescue units. When the main units arrive, they perform other functions as directed by the firefighting manager.
Гасіння пожежі виконують інші функції.
Initially, there were only 8 women in the team, but now there are 21 volunteers. Most of them are village council employees, deputies and members of the executive committee, as well as teachers, accountants and saleswomen. And almost every one of them has already been out to fight a fire at least once.
I never thought I'd wear this uniform.
I didn't plan this. Well, maybe when I was a child I did.
The idea of creating a female volunteer fire brigade was down to the head of a village council. However, there were some objections.
There are stereotypes that this is a purely male profession and that we'll not be able to cope with it. And it's dangerous. Yes, it is dangerous, but given that we are currently living in a state of war and we do not know what the consequences of that will be, what may happen, what destruction may occur, we should at least be a support to those who need us.
There are plans to continue developing the Women's Volunteer Fire Brigade with new training and exercises in the pipeline. There's plenty of interest too, with several more women in the small community hoping to sign up.